Welcome to Connect the Dots, a podcast where we unlock the stories that connect each and every one of us. Hosted by me, Zach Day, in partnership with Kenect Nashville. How do you connect?
How do you connect? I always say that every time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Connect the Dots podcast with me, Zach Day. How's everybody doing today? I hope it's been a wonderful week for you. It's been a really busy week for me over here, a busy couple of weeks. Just staying on top of things, just trying to bust my butt and get out here and just slay. You know what I mean?
Keep swimming.
Exactly. Dory vibes. With me today on the podcast, if you might have just heard her, it's my friend Denyse Hammen. Hi, Denyse.
Hi, Zach.
Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Absolutely.
I love seeing Denyse around. She's just such a really good energy and spirit. Every time I see you, I just feel like I'm just like, oh, okay, thank God Denyse is here. Like everything's gonna be under control. And Denyse does a lot of the bartending for the events that we have here at Kenect, amongst I'm sure a bunch of other things. So thank you for coming out here today.
Absolutely.
Letting me take up
here.
your time for a few minutes. How have you been? What's your week been like?
Oh, crazy. It's April, May, and June are the busiest months for private bartenders. So
Yeah.
it's been pretty wild. I've been working 2 and 3 gigs a day. So
I mean, making that money, I guess. I
Yeah,
mean, you gotta do
you
what you
know.
gotta do. But I mean, if you can't enjoy it, I mean, are you enjoying it?
yeah, for
It
sure.
keeps you
For
busy,
sure. It
but
yeah,
it's
keeps me working, keeps me moving.
right.
It's physically good for me at my age. I need to keep moving.
I understand. I mean, yeah, and then you're over here at Kenect pretty often too. At least
Yeah.
at least every week, probably. I'd say, right?
From 1 to 3 times a week, usually. Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, they're keeping you busy for
I
sure.
love it. Keep it coming.
Right, I agree. It's just such a cool spot here, and now that it's getting ready to be like summer, and they're
Yeah.
gonna have some stuff outside.
Yeah.
I bet that's gonna be pretty busy too.
Yeah, very excited about that. Love using that amenity deck bar.
Yes, me too. And Denyse has also been bartending for some of the pool jams that we've had here. I played one, and Brother Joe, who was on the podcast, has played. I mean, he's in charge of all of those. So I'm really excited for how it's going to turn out in the summer.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good summer here.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, how you ended up here in Nashville, where you're from. What's your story? Let's just get right into it.
Absolutely. Born outside of Chicago and originally came here when I was 13. Talk
Okay.
about some culture shock. Moving in 1992 from the Chicago burbs to Nashville burbs.
Wow.
That was definitely a thing.
What's the biggest difference when you moved here from Chicago? I mean, is it just the lay of the land, or the weather, or the culture, or what?
Culture was huge in 92. I don't know that it necessarily would be quite as big of a difference in 2024.
Okay.
But in 92, that was massive. Chicagoans are very forthright, very direct, and then came to the South, and it's very not forthright and very not direct.
Yeah.
And it's its own thing.
Just relaxed a little bit more in some ways.
And
Yeah.
I definitely got myself in trouble for a few decades there. I'm working on it with when to be direct and when to not be direct.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, cool. So you came here when you were 13.
And then I've been here off and on. I moved away. I was in Pennsylvania for a while. I spent a little time in Florida. I spent some time in Virginia and went back to Chicago for a year. But I just kept coming back to Nashville.
Yeah.
So
And now it's your home.
it is. It is.
So you still have friends and family back in Chicago that
I
you go
do.
visit and
Yeah.
stuff like that?
Sure do.
Okay, nice. How far of a drive is that from here?
Depending on how fast you drive, between 7 and 8 hours or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a full day.
It
but
is. It is.
I mean, I live 3 hours from home, and it's rare that I even get to drive up there. I'm like,
Yeah.
Lord, I can't be on the road for 3 hours.
I know. I don't have the attention span for that, man.
Either.
Next thing I know, I'm thinking about shoes or a dog that I saw, and I'm like, oh, I'm driving.
Exactly. And then I'm like, or I'm just listening to a podcast. That's literally what I do when I'm driving for long
I have
trips.
missed exits and wound up in the wrong state because I just went off into my own little world. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. So you moved here when you were 13, then you were kind of just bouncing around all over the place. And then you just ended up back here in Nashville. Now this is where you call home.
Correct.
So during that time, what were you doing? Were you just like, was that when you started like bartending, or were you just figuring out what's going on, school, work? What was the vibe for you?
A whole lot of everything. It was the time to test things out, see what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, I saw in your bio, you've done all kinds of stuff, which is like,
yeah.
which I love, I love to be, because that means you can like talk and connect with people. I mean, that's how I do it too, is just like, I'm sure you have something that you can talk to with pretty much anyone and just connect with them about it,
Yeah. Wide variety of experiences and interactions and, people that I've met along the way. And it's definitely expanded me as a person and my ability to connect with others, for sure.
I love that. Yeah. So you were just kind of trying out all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
What's some examples of some stuff that you could tell us about?
I spent over 10 years on the road of the Renaissance Festival circuit. I was a sword fighter primarily for that time.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, I was primarily hired to do stage combat. And during that time, I also did stand-up comedy. I did singing. I did dancing. I still eat fire.
Cool.
I've been a magician's assistant. I made costumes for people on the circuit, and then also theatrical productions where I'd go. We'd wind up in, different cities, and, they'd need somebody to slap together a few costumes during the week while I was there. I'd do that. We'd go street busk during the week to make extra money in between. So that's something. I've done door-to-door sales where I traveled to different cities and I'd go knock on doors and
brave.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's.
I couldn't do that.
Oh, I've got some stories from that job. That was wild. Let's see. I was a director of operations for an advertising agency.
Wow.
Director of ops for an IT company back when I was dabbling in the corporate sphere before I firmly decided that was not for me.
Yeah.
But
and now you do bartending and you also work with plants.
I do, yeah.
We've had a lot of conversations about that.
Yes.
I love a plant too. I mean, I wish none of these are real, but they're cute anyway.
They are cute little fiddle leaf thing.
Yes.
Ficus lustrata.
Exactly.
Lorata.
The little fiddle leaf. Yeah, they get pretty big too. I had some friends that had a real one and it just kept growing, and I was like, I want it. They wouldn't give it to me, but. Wow, that's so cool. I mean, I'm like really into the whole medieval era right now. I don't know why. I just like have been like, whenever I'm like reading a book or something, that this is how I relax, is I'll just like light a candle or something and read a book, and I'll have on like medieval tavern ambiance music in the back, and it's just kind of like.
I used to sing madrigals. I actually got to sing madrigals a couple times at the Knoxville Opera Festival.
Wow!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I mean, I'm sure we could talk all day about all these experiences. That's so cool. So how do you describe yourself now? I mean, you're just a Renaissance woman yourself, but
yeah, jack of all trades is kind of what I've come to land on, better than a master of one.
Exactly.
And I don't know, I find that having different experiences, having different interactions creates a fuller picture for yourself to interact with the rest of the world once you have all these different experiences, all these different people that you've combined with, connected with, and everything. You can merge that all together into a bigger picture of the world and the people around you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, I kind of have a similar experience in my life too. I mean, like, I think it's really good to be able to, like I said, just you can go up to anyone and find something that you can talk to them about because you've probably either tried it or you've experienced it somehow, But sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I would have like just dedicated my entire life to just music or whatever the one thing is that I'm doing. But at the same time, it just makes you a more like interesting person, more diverse, and just So I support the jack of all trades kind of vibe. But these days you are primarily focusing on your bartending, right? And then the plants, I guess, right? Yeah. That's cool. So what inspired you when you were doing all this stuff that you were like, okay, I'm going to also just try bartending? What kind of made you think, okay, I think I could be good at that?
Well, my very first service industry job would have been in the 80s at a little cafe. I was a kid and worked for tips only.
Wow.
So
this was in Chicago, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So this has been a long time coming with, you know, you're doing other things, and so you always grab those food service jobs throughout your life, thinking it's just a placeholder and whatever, and then you find yourself coming back to it, and you're like, you know, I don't hate this industry, I just hate certain aspects of it, and I noticed that the bartenders get treated so much better.
Right.
You have the
There's
power
respect
to
there.
cut them off from the alcohol, and you have the power to remove them. And so I was like, I'm going to try that because I love this work, but I just don't like the way that it seems to be getting worse and worse with the way folks tend to treat service industry folks. Yeah. And my gosh, the difference is incredible. And so I took it on just for let's try it out. One aspect of food service I hadn't done, and loved it. Discovered that people are very chill with the bartender, and I've just been riding that ever since.
So when you're first starting in bartending and stuff like that, is it like you have to do like mixology classes or anything like that? I don't know how that works.
No, in fact, like in the world of bartending, most people that have gone to like schooling for it are whether it's right or wrong. I have my own disagreements with it. Or it's kind of like, oh, you just took classes. Oh, it's very much get tossed on the fire.
Right.
Yeah.
You haven't been behind the bar yet, like really like in there.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the same way it is with like music too, or anything. Like, I mean, I was thinking about that the other day. Like, you know, you can have 1 million followers on Instagram, but you probably have never sat and played like a 3-hour bar gig before, even though, you know what I mean? It's like, girl, you got to get your feet in the fire kind of vibes.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting.
Sink or swim.
Yeah. So during this time, were there any like influential people or mentors for you that were like inspiring you, or anyone that maybe was like someone that you were like, oh, I want to be like them? Maybe not in bartending, just in general.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me. I suppose my inspiration was that it was purely a desire to better myself financially and personally, and I saw a way forward with this. I could envision a way that I could turn this into something that I could live off of, and so I can't say that there's specifically a person that inspired me, but my community around me inspires me by, the folks I know going after what they want to do and fighting to make that happen. And they, of course, all have passion for something that they absolutely love.
Right.
Whereas me, I'm just enjoying where the current takes me for the most part. So I kind of did draw off the passion and focus of the people that are more passionate and focused than me.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. I understand that. So did you spend a lot of time working in one specific bar, or was it always kind of this like private bartending or doing corporate events or something like that?
I started off with physical venue bars, but mostly it was fill-in positions when I started. But that was over a decade ago. And then 6-7 years ago or so, I started doing the private stuff just to pick up a little extra money, and really liked the nature of that. I don't like going into a job where it's the same every day.
Yeah.
And this is something where, I go in and every item is in a new place. Every setup is different. And you've got an hour to find it all, put it all together, make it work, do service, and then break it all down and put it away. And it's different every single place you go. You're dealing with different people every single time you go.
Yeah.
The people you're working with, and it's got its advantages. Unlike, working in the same bar over and over again where you might hate two of your coworkers or whatever.
Right.
Tonight I might work with this guy that I really can't stand, but tomorrow he won't be here.
Right.
Tomorrow I'm working in this venue that's very particular and kind of hard to match their rules. But the next day I'm going to be somewhere else and they're real chill. And so it's like, even if one night's going to be a little stressful, the next night won't be. So it doesn't matter. You're not stuck in that pattern. Repeating the same exact thing over and over.
It doesn't become too cyclical, just like the same thing every day. Yeah, I mean that's good because it keeps you on your feet.
Exactly.
And keeps you like, moving, but at the same time I would be a little bit stressed out because I kind of feel like I thrive I don't know. I'm different. Sometimes I will thrive in chaos, but I really enjoy a routine.
Sure.
And I'm trying to find that healthy balance right now.
Right.
But it's
Right.
not easy.
I think that's one of the advantages of working at the garden center during the day and bartending at night is the garden center is very much the same. I care for the plants. I take care of the annuals. And there's, several 100,000 of them that I take care of. And I've got a path I have to follow and check each plant every day that I'm there, 5 days a week. So that is very much like over and over exactly the same thing. But then I bartend and I go into the chaos.
Right.
And I have found that those two jobs really balance each other very well for me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. I never even considered that, but that's really true. Like you can go during the day and have like what you have to do.
Yeah.
And then at night it's like, well, let's just see what I'm going to get into tonight.
Exactly. See which way the wind blows.
Exactly. So I was wondering if there were any kind of memorable stories you could share about maybe one of the craziest events that you've ever had to bartend, or like maybe a celebrity, something that happened crazy or something like that.
I'm trying to think. I wind up signing a lot of NDAs
Okay.
in my work in this city.
Okay. Me too. I understand. Yeah.
So that, but to be honest, the stuff with the celebrities, I've had no problems here. There is a specific one that I can think of, but that is heavily NDA'd to the point of my own destruction. So
$500,000.
Right. That's a spicy place to work.
Okay.
I only take those when I really need to fill in some gaps.
Yeah.
But as far as like crazy stuff happening, I have seen fist fights at weddings.
Wow, that's embarrassing.
Oh my gosh! And I've worked in the event industry off and on in both Chicago and Nashville since the mid '90s, and so I know a ton of other people that work at them. So I also hear the interesting stories, like the time a groom's dad tried to run over a bride's mother with a pickup truck in the parking lot. I worked a wedding last year where a twin daughter was getting married, and during the speech from the maid of honor, who was the other twin, she kept talking about how we all know your dad's favorite, and everybody starts to turn, and then dad comes up, and dad proudly announces that of course she's my favorite. Oh my
awkward.
God. It started devolving into chaos after that. It went from a pretty nice little affair to pretty colorful after that.
Oof.
I heard the raised voices in the parking lot as I was packing up, and
I'm getting out of here.
It was time to go.
Whoa, that's wild.
Oh, the family drama that comes out at the weddings.
Oh, yeah. I've sang a lot of wedding gigs in my day too, and I've played some wedding gigs that are like, how much money do you people have? Like, because I'm like, there was one that I played this venue, and like they were like, yeah, the day before we had this big wedding, and they brought the bride out on an elephant, and I was like, that's how you know they have money. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
I was like, wow, I wish I could have seen that.
Right? Why didn't you hire me for yesterday?
Yesterday's wedding. I was also curious about how the coronavirus, COVID-19, how that affected the private bartending business.
Wiped it out, man.
Yeah.
I think the only event I remember happening during that time was for that very specific client that I cannot mention.
Oh, fair enough. That's the same thing with like, I moved here in 2020, and then a couple weeks later, it was like, oh, everything's going to shut down. I had no clue. I did not see it coming at all. I was just kind of like blind to everything. Then I was like, oh, wow.
Surprise.
Yeah. And then I was just like quarantined for like a year in this new city. So that was tough, but
get in your box.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. But then I figured it out. Now I'm loving it. But yeah, Nashville's a cool area. I've really come to enjoy just the Nashville area.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a beautiful area naturally, and then we've always had, despite all the changes that have happened between what all us older people consider old Nashville and new Nashville, we have retained that collaborative spirit, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those things about Nashville that has remained intact.
Yeah.
Is, that desire to work together and build something more in whatever space we're in.
Yeah, well, I mean, so speaking of that, like, how did you hear about Kenect? Like, how did you end up being able to come over here and work like all the time?
Yeah, that one was 100% pure luck. I will tout my skills when I am the one that did something, but that was pure chance. I happened to see a post on a Facebook group, and it was from Erica Primdahl of Primetime 615. And she needed a bartender for an event that was taking place here at Kenect. And I was not the first person to have replied, but I was the first person that was able to get a certificate of insurance to the building immediately because I have anxiety. And as soon as they said they needed it, I did it right then because I knew I got it. Like, I got it. It's
Yeah,
right
same. I understand that for sure.
And the fact that I got that back to her so fast got me in on that job. And then I met Kate here at Kenect through that. And then she started pulling me in on a couple things, and then it became a regular.
And you just
gig
get called back,
yeah.
So when you're bartending, do you have like a favorite drink that you make, or what's the easiest one, or what's the one that you like to make the most?
I like making margaritas the most,
Okay.
just because people are always super stoked to get a margarita.
For sure.
I mean, everybody getting a margarita is super happy about it. So there's something pleasant and happy about that interaction. And I appreciate that. But as far as easiest to make, any of what I call the something and somethings.
Yeah.
Jack and Coke.
Okay.
Rum and Coke. Vodka and Sprite, Just
two things.
I got you.
Yeah. How do you keep up with like new trends in the bartending and mixology world?
Good old TikTok, man.
Period. Yeah, social media. That's exactly right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's if you're not in a bar, if you're doing what I'm doing, you're not in that immediate space.
Yeah.
And so having something like social media to be able to allow me to stay up to date on those sorts of things is fantastic.
Do you think that being able to be behind the bar offers some creativity in your job as well? I mean,
absolutely. Particularly when I've got full bars to work with. I've done events at distributors, like alcohol distributors, that have full like test bars that are just completely lined floor to ceiling with every cocktail, every liqueur, every aperitif, every
that's cool
flavor of bitters, and so you get some time to actually mess around and experiment with things, and
and just kind of come up with the Zach drink or whatever.
It's very funny at private events because you usually have a very smaller, a much smaller selection of what you can use, and then they want you to make something that no one's ever seen, and I'm like, I'm sure someone's made this before, but we're gonna call it the Susie because your name's Susie. So.
Right, exactly. Well, so speaking of that, what are some of the must-have tools or ingredients that you think every home bar should include? For
your home bar, I mean, honestly, you can get away with no real tools. You can get by. You don't need a shaker. You can literally toss between two cups. You don't need a muddler. You can use the back of a spoon. I mean, it's other than a bottle opener for beer or wine, depending on what you drink. You can make do with anything, but that's my jack of all trades spirit there. We'll find a way to get into this alcohol. On the garden center lot, we had bottles of wine one night, and I went and got screws and a pair of pliers out of the tool cabinet, and we got those wine bottles open.
That's genius. Oh my gosh.
So there's always a way with, to work around that. But as far as ingredients, it's just largely dependent on what you like, but soda water is huge because that can, you can absolutely do a ton with something as simple as soda water.
Yeah.
Bitters, if you do any sort of mixed cocktails at all, just get a bottle of bitters, have that around. Lime juice, always have that on hand. Lately, I've been seeing a lot more, dragon fruit?
Yeah, I've been seeing some of that too on like TikTok and stuff. I think people are really experimenting with that.
And people are really going crazy over it if they like sweet drinks. So that's apparently a new one if you want to have sweet drinks around.
I mean, myself personally, like I don't drink that much, but I love to like if you were to make me something and just be like, this is cool, it's like got interesting flavors, like of course I would try it.
Sure.
So I would love to yeah, sometimes I like to go out to the bars and just see what they've got on the menus and just be like, okay, like, oh, this has like prickly pear and guava and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll definitely just try that and see what it tastes
absolutely.
like. Do you have a favorite bar in town in Nashville?
Yes, I always go to Fat Bites, actually.
I love Fat Bites.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's cool that you say that. I never hear anyone say that.
I love
But Fat Bites to me is just like really cool energy.
Yeah.
The music is always good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like secret. It's kind of hidden, but there's like, it's like got all different types of people.
Yes.
Queer. It's very queer friendly.
Very
and
queer friendly.
diverse. Yeah, that's cool. I
Very
love that.
wide range of ages.
Yeah.
That are over there. Love seeing the people that are just turning 21 all
Right.
the way up to the people in their 60s and 70s,
Yeah.
you know, and live music every night. And happy hour every day. Gotta love that.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I need to. I wish I could go there more often. I think I've only been there a few times, but it's really cool. It's kind of like a little bit further out, isn't it?
It's in Donaldson.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, maybe it's like 15 minutes from here if the traffic's not heavy.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna try to go back out there sometime. I know that one time I went there and one of my friends were like playing, I think, and they had like couches and like just the vibe is like really cool. And they got up there and it was like a jazz improvisational kind of thing. So like everybody was taking turns on different instruments. People were getting up there singing, scatting, and just like just riffing and stuff. It was just so cool. And then the band after them was like a bluegrass band or something. It was just like a total different switch. And I was just like, oh, this is cool. Like this is definitely way more my vibe than a lot of the bars around here.
Right. Oh yeah. The live music every night, and then they'll jump through multiple genres with the different bands that are playing. And then if you want to hear the music, there's inside, and then they've got that huge patio outside where you can actually have a conversation, but you can still hear the music.
Right.
And I love that.
Me too. I much prefer that over just having to scream over the music. And they have good food there too, I think, if I remember.
They do.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, so if you could serve a drink to anyone, living or dead, who would it be, and what would you make them? It's kind of a cool question. I was like,
Yeah, wow. I mean, I wish I had an esoteric answer or something
Hey, it
profound,
could be anything.
but really, I'd give Pedro Pascal a tequila soda and be happy about it.
I love that. Love him too.
Oh.
He's such a cutie.
He is.
Okay, so we're about to be wrapping up here. I've just got a couple more questions for you. So one of the things that I ask a lot of the guests when they come on the podcast is just like, how do they feel they connect with other people? I mean, I know we already discussed that, you know, you're a jack of all trades for real, or Jill of all trades, whatever you want to say. And that probably gives you a big like foot in the door when you can just be like, hey, let's talk about this. But maybe not. What would you say is your biggest way that you find yourself connecting with strangers, with friends, with people that you maybe meet here at Kenect?
Generally, I just try to listen to people for a few minutes, just try to sit back and absorb what I can. And as soon as I find a touch point with someone, I shoot in with it, whether it's they've got a shirt on of a band that I like, or I hear them talking about a place they just went that I've also been.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's listening. The connection starts with listening.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how we started talking about plants, I guess, that one day.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's just like, oh, we both like plants. And then we just took off on a conversation. Yeah. I love that. And then also I wanted to ask you, I mean, I know you're so busy and you've been like staying really, really busy, which is like, I mean, I commend you for that. But how do you, for me, I think that like it's super important to have a healthy work-life balance and try to find like whatever it makes you feel at peace at the end of the day or whenever it is for you. So how do you manage that work-life balance, and what do you do to like relax or unplug for a little bit?
Managing it at all this time of year is pretty difficult, but the rest of the year, it's not too bad. I like to read. I love horror movies.
Oh, me too. And horror books too. I've been reading a lot
for
of those.
sure. Chuck Tingle's Bury Your Gaze is coming out soon.
Bury Your Gaze?
Yes.
Not gays, right? Or gays?
Gaze.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gaze.
it's fabulous.
Okay, cool. I love it.
And Camp Damascus was his last horror novel.
Okay.
And he is a trip, but he is also a master of metaphor, and he's delightful and quirky, and I just love Chuck Tingle. Chuck Tingle.
Tingle. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Chuck
He's
Tingle.
a queer autistic author,
Amazing.
and he got famous for writing books about like sentient inanimate objects, and then also like cryptids and stuff. He did like romance novels about like Bigfoot and velociraptors, but then he switched into like horror novels that are actually like full cohesive stories.
Nice.
And he's delightful.
Okay, I'm into that.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So reading, I'm actually weirdly good at Beat Saber. So I play Beat Saber.
Oh, is it like a game?
It's a VR game.
Oh.
And you have 2 lightsabers.
Oh, yes.
And you have to hit all the boxes. And
I played that before. That's fun.
I am strangely good at it. And I use that to like work out, but also it's like a decompression sort of thing because it's physical.
Right.
But it's also music and fun. And, you know.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm glad that you're finding some ways to just relax a little bit. Don't work too hard. I'm like, please, because like if we got one life to live, so you got to just find your ways to just enjoy it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Find those moments.
All right, Denyse. Well, that's pretty much it. If you would like to, I would love for you to just give a shout out to where we can find you, social media. If you have anything coming up that we can come see you, your website, anything that you want to shout out, feel free.
My private bartending service is Restless Spirits, and you can. All my socials are at Restless Spirits Bar, all one word smeared together, no dashes or anything in there. I will be doing another version of the Plant Your Spirits cocktail class, and that'll be at JVI Secret Gardens. I haven't selected a date yet because it's this time of year.
Okay, yeah.
But soon I will be putting up information on that, and it'll teach you a little bit about growing some basic herbs and then how to make cocktails with them.
Nice. Oh my God, that's the perfect blend of the two things you're doing right now. That's
delicious.
So cool. Okay,
I love it. And then I will be also bartending here at Sydney's Island Vibes Juneteenth party, and then also at Amber is going to be having an event here at Kenect. And we're going to be doing some like old timey cocktails.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that one's going to be fun. It's like a history of certain alcohols and their context within.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be
like
very
speakeasy kind of energy.
Speakeasy energy.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
exactly.
Nice.
So those will be coming up. I'm going to be bartending at the Hellbender Festival soon. I'll be bartending at the Bitcoin conference, and then I'll also be bartending at Deep Tropics again this year. So
you got plenty of stuff this summer and for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, y'all go check out Denyse on her social media so that you can keep up with where she's going to be next.
Yeah.
And
restlessspiritsbar.com.
restlessspiritsbar.com. Okay, cool. Well, y'all heard it here first. And thank you guys so much for checking out Connect the Dots podcast. And from everybody here at Kenect Nashville, we wish you guys a very happy rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Bye.